a wrestler cannot be easy because it's your job to go out in front of maybe thousands of people and put on what people are hoping to be an excellent match, all while maintaining your composure if you or your opponent screws up. Sometimes that doesn't happen because wrestlers, some of them at least, are known to have severe anger problems, and they will beat up even a jobber if things don't go according to plan. That can leave a lasting stain on your career because this business is supposed to be a business of professionals. So losing your cool because of one minor mishap is kind of embarrassing. Nevertheless, it does happen, and some of the most infamous moments in wrestling history are a result of wrestlers losing their cool. And we're going to look at 5 of those today. Why not? The following 5 entries are examples of wrestlers doing whatever is necessary to make sure that the match goes right, at least in their eyes. We may not think it goes right, but at least they're satisfied. We clear? Good, let's get started. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and here are 5 wrestlers who took matters into their own hands. Number 5, JBL. Alcohol. It can be good at first, but if you have a little too much, it can royally screw you up. Just ask JBL, who got increasingly drunk at ECW One Night Stand 2005, to the point where, during a climactic brawl at the end of the show, while everyone else was fake fighting, JBL and the Blue Meanie were fighting for real. The reason why is just so silly. So, in 2005, JBL was not known as the nicest person backstage. He was apparently the reason for some wrestlers leaving the company or getting fired. And some wrestlers decided to call him out about it, including ECW alumni and member of the Blue World Order, the Blue Meanie. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, JBL is not very nice to people. And JBL wanted to prove him right by getting increasingly drunk and beating the crap out of him on pay-per-view. I'm not going to show the images of Blue Meanie's face because I don't want YouTube to block this video for thinking I'm showing images from an actual atrocity. But just go look them up because it is kind of scary. But I mean, from all accounts, JBL and the Blue Meanie are fine now. They have reconciled their differences, and they are now friends. At least that's what I hear. But this is just one example of many, but the only one I'm going to list here, of wrestlers getting drunk and taking matters into their own hands, whether they needed to or not. Number 4, The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels is a bit of a weird egg, as you will see later in this video, because he is not always willing to go according to plan, and that will tick off loads of people. One example of this is at WrestleMania 14. Now, loads of people have talked about this, but this is my first time, so bear with me. So in 1998, Shawn Michaels was screwed up. He had started taking a lot of medications, he was passing out backstage, he was not great to work with, and his back was killing him, so much so that he contemplated retirement. Notice in that list, I mentioned that he was difficult to work with. Also notice I mentioned that he was contemplating retirement. Before he could retire, he had to do one thing. See, in the spring of 1998, Shawn Michaels was WWF champion. Steve Austin was the next star of the WWF. So Michaels had to pass the torch to Austin. Thing is, we didn't know if he was going to because of his reputation as a guy who was not very good to work with. So in steps Captain Boo and the Spooky Crew, aka The Undertaker, to make things right. He reportedly taped up his fists and said, "Mike, you got 2 options. 1, do the match. 2, this fist is going through your skull." Shawn Michaels chose option 1, and history is as is. I'm kind of glad Michaels did the match because I don't want to see the pictures of him getting beat up by a man who is legitimately 6'10". Number 3, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is one of the best wrestlers of all time. He's also a guy who knows his place and a guy who knows how to get things accomplished. For an example, 2003, Goldberg had just arrived in the company and Jericho was ready to work an angle with Big Bill. But Goldberg wasn't, because he saw Jericho as a small guy and he had no interest in doing anything with him. So Jericho took matters into his own hands. The story goes, backstage, Jericho locked Goldberg in a front face lock and refused to let it go. he just held it there for a little while before being separated by a bunch of wrestlers. This act got him hauled in front of Wrestler's Court. For those of you who don't know what Wrestler's Court is a backstage judicial system, in a sense, which charges the wrestlers for doing things that are not liked by management or by the higher-ups in the locker room, and so they are punished for it. The Undertaker's often the judge, JBL is often the prosecution. Jericho was hauled in front of court, and his sentence was publicly admitting that Goldberg had always been the better wrestler. We all know now that that is a big pile of dog crap, but back in 2003, Goldberg was the bigger star, and I guess that means that he's the better wrestler. Number 2, Booker T. Booker T, aka King Booker, aka King Booker, was enjoying a World Heavyweight Championship run in the summer of 2006 when he ran face first into a fridge-sized man named Dave Batista. Batista and King Booker began a feud over the World Heavyweight Championship, but saw them go head-to-head in a match for the title at SummerSlam. Now, the story leading up to this on camera is iffy, but the story behind the scenes is much more interesting. While on Raw, Batista had made some not nice comments towards the SmackDown locker room. He implied that they were the B show and not as good as Raw, but then he was moved to SmackDown, which is just really awkward. No one took Batista up on those comments for a while because, I don't blame them. He is the size of an actual refrigerator. But Booker T did take him up on those comments, which led to a backstage brawl while shooting promotional material for SummerSlam 2006. The story goes that Booker T walked up to Batista, took him up on the comments, and then they went to a room to have a Barney. The winner of the fight is not entirely clear. Some people say that Batista had won the fight because Booker T could be seen on TV with a black eye for weeks afterwards. But people also say that Booker T won the fight, and by people I mean Finlay. Whatever the case may be, Booker T definitely took matters into his own hands because no one else was going to. Good on Booker for standing up for the locker room. And number 1, Bret Hart. Hey look, we're talking about Shawn Michaels again. This can't be as bad as the last entry, right? Wrong, we're talking about the Montreal Screwjob. Every wrestling fan that has ever been born knows what the Montreal Screwjob is. If you're watching this and you're not a wrestling fan and you don't know what the Montreal Screwjob is, I will explain it thusly. The Montreal Screwjob was the plan to get the WWF Championship off of Bret Hart in late 1997 because Hart's contract was expiring and he was planning to jump ship to WCW. But he was WWF champion at the time, and there was only one other top guy to give the belt to. But Hart hated him, and that guy was Shawn Michaels. They had gone at it several times before, and there are several examples I can bring up with this, so I'm just going to bring up a few of them. Why not? The first incident was a result from the Sunny Days promo, which was where Michaels implied that married Bret Hart had an affair with manager Sunny, and this resulted in a backstage fight, which resulted in Michaels getting a clump of his hair removed. That's an actual thing that happened. Just look at Michaels and you will see. Don't look at him now because he doesn't have any hair, but you get my point. The second incident comes from the actual Screwjob itself. After the Screwjob happened, Hart was, to be fair, a little furious. He wrecked everything, spit in Vince McMahon's face, tore apart the announce table, got backstage, and punched Vince McMahon full in the face. And then he left. So, yeah, not a great way to go out. This did lead to the Bret Screwed Bret promo that everyone has heard at some point. And this also led to Vince McMahon and Bret Hart hating each other for years. But apparently now they have reconciled their differences. But it's always going to leave us a sore spot. Bret Hart definitely took matters into his own hands. He was kind of notorious for doing that, really. Beat the crap out of Shawn Michaels, beat the crap out of Vince McMahon. He'll probably beat the crap out of you if you talk crap about him. Bottom line, everyone on this list was not happy with the way things were going, and they decided to do something about it themselves. whether it benefited wrestling or not. And that's our list. Thanks for watching. Did we miss anything out? If we did, tell us about it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. And you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and I will see you soon.